welcome back to our study of the Antichrist in the Jewish Awareness Ministries School of Biblical and Jewish Studies. Like I said in the end of our last lesson, we're going to be looking at the names that the Bible gives the Antichrist in this lesson. Before we start looking at the various names that the Bible gives him, I would like us to understand what the word Antichrist itself means. Well, the Greek prefix anti generally means against or opposed to. It can also mean in the place of or a substitute for. The Antichrist will embody both meanings, okay? So both against, he's against Christ, but he's also trying to replace Christ. He will oppose Christ while pretending to be Christ. And this from Dave Hunt's Global Peace and the Rise of the Antichrist. So the Antichrist himself is going to be against Christ and trying to replace him. So the first name that we're going to look at is the beast in Revelation chapter 13 and verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns were 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Oftentimes in Scripture, specifically Revelation 13, we hear over and over and over again, the beast, the beast, the beast. And this is referring to the Antichrist himself. Next name that we have is a king of fierce countenance in Daniel chapter 8 and verse 23, where it says, in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. This is referring to the Antichrist. We can see here some of the character that he will have and some of the ways that he will act when it describes him as having a fierce countenance. He's going to be kind of a scary, angry kind of person, according to this passage. So a ruler that is fierce, a ruler that is to be feared, a ruler that maybe has a temper. I don't know. He's going to be somebody that's intimidating in his countenance. Okay? King of fierce countenance. Then we have the little horn in Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8, where it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Interesting. Before whom were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. Now remember how we've talked about this confederacy of 10 kings that the Antichrist rises out of? We read in our last lesson about how the Antichrist is going to subdue 3 of these kings. Here, 3 of the first horns are plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Interestingly, the Antichrist is not referred to as some kind of big crazy horn that just overshadows all the others. He's referred to as a little horn. And so maybe when the Antichrist arises, and this is just my interpretation or just imagination of what may happen, just kind of extrapolating upon what I see, is that the Antichrist seems to arise in a way that is subtle at first. Here he's called the little horn. Then we have the man of sin and son of perdition in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, the revelation of the man of sin, the son of perdition, for who he is, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Now our purposes here today in this class are not to discuss really the implications of the first part of this verse. But let me just say, give you some food for thought. This passage is not referring to the beginning of the tribulation period. Everything that we read in this passage in the immediate context has to do with the tribulation period already going on. Has to do with that midpoint of the tribulation. Personally, I believe this passage is referring to not the rapture, but I believe that it's referring to that midpoint of the tribulation period, where the Antichrist decrees himself to be God and demands that everybody needs to take the mark of the beast. This is the revelation of the man of sin, the son of perdition, for who he really is. That's just my take on this verse. Then we see vile person in Daniel 11:21. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably and obtain the kingdom by flatteries. Here, the Antichrist is referred to as a vile person, just full of sin and things that are an abomination in God's eyes. In Daniel 11:36, he's referred to as a willful king. And the king shall do according to his will. He's going to take charge of whatever he wants to do. He shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. The Antichrist is going to be a take charge kind of person who wants to do what he wants to do, and he's going to see that it is done. The wicked, 2 Thessalonians 2:8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So the Antichrist is not just going to be some ruler that's going to make things move and do things in different ways in different places, but he's going to have this character that is consumed by sinfulness, by wickedness, by evil. Hope you've enjoyed what we've looked at so far regarding the Antichrist and the things that he does, and also the names that he is given. I look forward to seeing you in the next class as we continue our study of who the Antichrist is and the things that he does. Shalom.